Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore and it's an honor to have you here with me today. Let's talk about Mercury's ingress into Taurus, which will be happening this coming Thursday from the day that I post this video. So in my last video, which was a little bit unexpected and random for me, I wasn't ever planning on talking about the solar storms we recently had, but I felt it was necessary because I feel, when we have these, anomalies that just sort of happen, to parts of the world or to parts of certain cultures and societies, I guess, that don't typically happen, there is some omen synchronicity in those things. I'm a believer in all of that stuff, Just like in the area that I'm from, we had an earthquake about a month ago, and that was pretty spot on with the incoming Uranus-Jupiter conjunction in some ways, because Uranus is also infamous for earthquakes, sudden shocks. So in a way, the solar storm was a sudden shock, because it was a massive burst of geomagnetic, I don't know what the exact scientific term is, but it definitely provided something that scared a lot of people in the science field that could potentially shock and disturb and even destroy things, hence the electrical grids. So I did mention this Mercury ingress, just to get back on track, in that video yesterday, because I was very much talking about how the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction and the Cazimis as well that are coming in the next week are also very significant to, in my opinion, what those storms sort of represented a little bit. Mainly because the sun, when it Cazimis, when it conjoins with a planet, it supercharges it. It brings an illumination to it. It brings mostly good omens, like good things, like that's why, in my opinion, if you noticed, nothing crazy happened on the news. A lot of people were freaking out about, is the power grid going to go down? This, that, and the other thing. Like, this could be the most horrible thing that could ever happen to humanity, which, yes, if the solar storms were bad enough and our technologies could not handle the surge, yeah, humanity would be in a really tough place because we're not prepared as a species these days to survive without electricity. Just sit for a minute and think about that. So if nothing bad happened, then it just became a beautiful, awe-inspiring, mystical, and spiritual experience for many people in the world that are not used to it. Just like the solar eclipse, people, whenever they see a totality of a solar eclipse, it brings over them this unexplainable feeling of, wow, look at what the heavens can do. Wow, this is incredible. And there's a spiritual part of all of us that just feel, this thing that most mystics and people like us probably feel all the time, when we really want to contemplate astrology or divination or magic or intuitive development. Something else I'm passionate about is teaching others how to use their intuition, But that's why I think the Mercury ingress as well will also be very, very awesome for us, because the day that I record this, Mercury is officially done with its integration phase post-shadow. So technically speaking, we should all feel kind of in the clear from what Mercury's lessons were for us in Aries. We should have a better sense of what the mercurial story in Aries and that retrograde cycle has taught us, or at least made us aware of. So in the next 3 days, it will enter Taurus, and it will be there with Venus, which is awesome and beautiful, Uranus, Uranus, Jupiter, and the Sun. But see, Mercury is not going to be anywhere near those 3 planets. Mercury will be just at 0 degrees, making a square, in fact, to Pluto retrograde. So that's something to keep in mind, which is why, in my opinion, I feel we're going to feel the ingress a little bit more sharply. But in my opinion, this square isn't going to be anything horrible or negative. Maybe in some parts of the world or wherever, depending on the birth chart situation, there could be some sudden, maybe like a brief mental kind of dark night of the soul flash. Like, I think some people might go through a little bit of an upheaval with Pluto just smashing, and squaring Mercury like that. But at the same time, I feel this particular transit will bring a sudden burst of transformation. And see, the difference between like a Uranian transformation sudden and a Plutonic sudden transformation is Pluto really hits the psyche, and it's like an inside thing. It's an inside job, where Uranus usually comes from the outside, but Pluto is like a deeper shamanic, kind of ping and zap. So I think when Mercury gets into Taurus and squares Pluto immediately, for some of us, we're going to feel just like a quick bolt of like psychic shamanic, I don't know, something's just going to take over, and we're going to just have that burst of power. And that's a key word. I think power is a key word. And that also would tie into a lot of the things I was saying with the solar flares, that there was a power, there's a power to that synchronicity that was very much associated, in my opinion. I think that's very associated to the Cazimis, because we're going to have such a supercharged Taurus for about a week and a half, until the sun leaves Taurus pretty much and gets into Gemini, which Jupiter will be following pretty quickly. Or Jupiter will already be, I think, in Gemini at that point. But until the sun pretty much gets out of Taurus, I mean, this is a supercharged Taurus part of your birth chart. There's going to be a lot of energy, and I think this is good energy. I think this is going to be very, very beneficial to most of us. We have Jupiter, the sun, and Venus. Those are three benefics. The sun, I don't know if it's totally considered a benefic in traditional astrology. I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. But Jupiter is, and Venus is. And we have the sun, lighting all life up and illuminating, supercharging these planets. And Mercury, even though it's not conjunct, it's not conjunct at all, it's still in the house, it's still there. And I think it's going to be a perfect energy for grounding our intentions and our focus on things that we were very much trying to understand and figure out, and we were backtracking, and things were falling apart with Aries, and things could have been aggressive at times, and then things could have been just being, the Aryan energy could have been coming towards us and just messing up our mind in a very aggressive way. Because I feel this Aries story we've all been through. And yes, Mars is still there, churning up the waters, of course. But Mercury was, this was all of the mind and the communication and the way we input data and the way we try to express ourselves. And I think we were all maybe trying to be aggressive and action-based with our mind and our mental capacities. And a lot of us just weren't able to like move forward like Aries wants you to. But today, Mercury's at 27 degrees Aries, so I feel like we're going to use the last couple of degrees of Aries and Mercury to truly go full steam ahead. So we're really moving full steam ahead towards Taurus. We're going to enter Taurus. We're going to feel this square to Pluto, which will do something to us in a very profound way. Pluto is a very profound planet. I mean, the significations and meanings of Pluto go in so many different ways, but it all comes down to just deep transformation, psychological insight, dark night of the souls at the deepest level, Scorpio energy to a degree, very much Scorpio energy. So when Pluto gets into Taurus, where it'll be grounded, it'll have an opportunity to, root itself, so to speak, And I think that's where the focus and the intention of what we want to put into the world, grow into the world, flourish in the world. Because again, we just had that super amazing new moon there. This is still a time of seeding and prosperity and growing and putting action into the world to manifest, So, and this can also be mental manifestation, manifesting a new way of thinking about yourself, thinking about the world, thinking about ideas, thinking about how you want to go about stuff, or whatever the case may be for you. And of course, whatever your Jupiter Uranus story was, and of course, what Venus potentially is providing you in this time, Mercury will just be allowing you to relay these things in a mental way, and to communicate these things in a mental way, and to understand, them in a very mental way. So, and then of course, I think Venus is going to allow us to feel, all of these things that we're thinking and want to do, and all the mental communications. Venus is going to allow us not only to use our mind and to ground things and to make sense of things and to grow things, that do make sense now, but we're also going to feel them, which sometimes, when you're dealing with air energy, not saying that Mercury is an air planet, but it definitely is, because it rules Gemini, but it also rules Virgo. And, I think Mercury's good at grounding mental energies and communication and, the fluidity of multitasking and just being able to be a good analyzer. But it also has the fluidity of air, which can get a little bit too chaotic. And sometimes we can forget to feel when we're too chaotic and too much air is going on, So Venus being there too, it makes this ingress and this transit, as it's occurring, beautiful to me. This is why I think it's a positive omen. This is why I think the solar flares were a positive omen, because, the Cazimis are going to supercharge and really bring light and, dare I say love, because I know everyone could be going through something different, but just a beautiful omen, synchronicity of look at the sky, look at what the heavens can do, look at what the sun can do to planet Earth when it wants to. These beautiful auroras. And that has to be taken into consideration, guys, And I know that a lot of people go through hard times, and maybe some of you are going through hard times, And sometimes when I feel like I talk about positive stuff and, this transit should be bringing you this in a positive way, I understand that there could be, hard times in that part of your life. But if you really use these energies and transits, you can use them as medicine too. So that's the beauty of astrology. Even if the stuff is not totally manifesting for you, if you meditate with them, I truly believe this is where magic and alchemy comes in. You can transform maybe some of that darker, challenging stuff in your Taurus part of your life if you're going through anything. And you can use it to turn things around, guys. I swear, you can really use it, and it becomes a medicine. Which is why I always say you co-create with astrology. Not necessarily astrology is forcing you into a corner and dictating your entire life, even though there is a fate, determined destiny thing happening. But we can shift and pivot and manipulate this fate and destiny. We can do that as well, which is why magic is real. So I hope this video made sense today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, of course. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you did. That would really help the channel's growth. That's really all I want to say. I will come on more this week talking about, a bunch of different things, of course, the Cazimis, and just a bunch of other stuff. I try my best to think about the best kinds of content and topics to make on the channel. Excuse me. And at the moment, I love doing transit videos, talking about what's going on currently. I really love how I did that recent moon video where I was able to do a little education. I'll do more of that as well. So I think that's going to be beneficial for everyone here. I'm going to be recording classes soon for everyone to go a little bit more, to deep dive a little bit more, which I'll make announcements soon when I have some of those ready to go. But yeah, if there's anything else have any suggestions of what you think, what do you enjoy, What would you enjoy me talking about more? Just let me know. Tell me in the comments, because for me, astrology is like my number one thing I love talking about. But aside from that, I have many, many years in psychic and intuitive development, really just talking about intuition and psychicness. I have many years of study in world religions and metaphysics and just talking about different spiritual concepts involving the nature of reality and, multidimensional stuff. So my interests can go from very pragmatic and down to earth ways of talking about astrology, spirituality, magic, intuition, and psychicness, which I don't find to be magical and crazy at all. I think we all have those capabilities, and I just try to translate that in a more human way. But I also can be a little woo-woo in some of my, my philosophical beliefs, which I think are also very important to contemplate, So if you just let me know, what do you prefer? Do you want me to do a mix of all three at times? If you have any opinions, I would be glad to hear them in the comment section. But yeah, guys, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching once again. Sending you so much love and wishing you well.